Hey everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Crowning Connections. We have a very, very special guest in the studio with us today, and we are looking forward to you hearing her story and just seeing what this possibly can do for you.
As Lindy said, going to be an amazing episode. You're going to want to grab your friends, your family, anyone you love and care about. You're going to want them to tune in to hear our guest, Aniko Brown, with Kaqun Wellness Spa in Las Vegas and Kaqun Water, which was founded by her father, Dr. Robert Lyons. Introduce yourself and share your story with our listeners today. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, ladies, for having me here today. I'm really honored and excited to be part of this amazing podcast and able to share my story with the world and whoever is listening to this at the moment. So my name is Aniko Brown. I'm the director of Kaqun Las Vegas. I'm also a naturopath and a health coach, and I've been working with Kaqun for about 12 years, just working with patients and really understanding and studying what the Kaqun water really does. But my story actually starts back in 2009. I was 19 years old, just got married, moved to Vegas, starting a life, think everything's going to be great. You know, being a young adult, you think you're invincible. And so one night I started to feel really sick, and maybe I had food poisoning, maybe stomach flu. I couldn't really pinpoint what was going on at the time. But after 2 days of not able to keep anything down, my husband took me to the ER. We went to get a CT scan done. And I didn't think any of that could maybe appendicitis, maybe just ate something bad. I never would ever thought anything else would escalate to what's going to be happening. So the doctor comes in. She looked kind of confused. Like, you can tell that she was hesitant to tell what was happening. She said, well, we found a 10 centimeter tumor on your pancreas on top of it with a cyst. And that cyst was about 10 to 15 centimeters big. So it was pushing against my stomach, which was making me sick. And I kind of just froze there, and I'm like, okay. So I couldn't talk at this point. My husband took over the conversation, and he's like, okay, what can we do? And she's like, well, go see a specialist. Until then, we'll give you some pain medication. I was actually in the hospital at that point for probably 5 or 7 days because I just couldn't keep anything down. They were afraid that I could become dehydrated and even more sick. So they wouldn't even let me go until I was okay. And then that's when I saw my doctor. So, yeah. And it's hard for me to tell this story. When I went to a specialist, we got the biopsy done. Fast forward about months later, they said, it is stage 4 pancreatic cancer. There's really nothing we can do. We can do surgery to remove the cyst that's pressing against your stomach. And they did. The first surgery was about 2 hours. They opened me up and then, basically told me after surgery that, there's nothing that we can really do. Maybe go to the Mayo Clinic, UCLA. They said chemotherapy wasn't really an option at that time because of my particular tumor. It was a bleeding tumor. And I'm like, okay. So I decided to go to UCLA first before I went to Hungary. And they did another scan, still the same thing. Like, what can we do here? What can be done? And they're like, well, chemo is definitely not an option. Second, they were upset because my surgeon here in Vegas cut into the tumor, which he wasn't supposed to because it could spread to other organs. So I'm like, great. So now I have that fear, in my mind, like, okay, what if this does start spreading? And so my surgeon at UCLA said, hey, do what you got to do to reduce this tumor, whatever it is. So at the time, Dr. Robert Lyons, my father, he had the technology already. He was using it on other patients. He had it about 7 years prior to me being diagnosed. So he kind of had the grasp and idea of what the baths could do. So we decided to pack up everything and then fly to Hungary. I was there for about 3 to 4 months. I did the Kaqun baths there. I changed my diet, my lifestyle. I'm not going to say it was glitter and rainbows during that time. I went through horrible phase of depression, anxiety. I got addicted to pain medication as well because I kind of just thought if I just keep taking it, eventually I won't wake up. So that's the dark side of this whole situation. As I was doing the Kaqun baths, a month to 2 months later, I just felt like this change. I'm a very spiritual person, and I felt God came to me one night and said, hey, like, you're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you. Just put your trust. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And things started changing and turning around for me. So I went back to UCLA. They did a scan. My tumor went from 10 centimeters to 5.7. The surgeon is like, okay, keep doing what you're doing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going back to Hungary for another few more months. Did the baths, the regimen, which is the 14 days and 3 baths a day. I was taking baths every single day, which you don't have to do that. And I was probably drinking 2 to 3 Kaqun bottles per day, which once again, you don't have to do that. It's just something that we're like, okay, let's just hit it hard. And I was peeing all the time, nonstop. I was soaking in water. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I felt this sense of peace and energy that I cannot explain. And when I went back a second time to UCLA for my scan, it went down to 2.5 centimeters. My tumor did. Well, my surgeon's like, okay, we can do the surgery. It's the Whipple surgery. We did the Whipple surgery. Usually those are 11 to 12 hours, very painful healing process. Sometimes you might not even get through the surgery. So it's very, very intense. They move a lot of pieces inside. Your gallbladder's gone, which it is. They moved that. They moved some of my intestines, my stomach, reconnected something from the liver to my intestines. So it's a pretty intense surgery. And mine was about 5 to 6 hours. And I remember when I woke up from my surgery, I was in my room because I was so like sedated. I don't remember, waking up even in the recovery room. I wake up and I'm like, where's my family at? And I'm like, okay, I haven't seen them for like 2 hours. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm alive. I'm pretty sure. Where's everybody at? And they forgot to tell my family that I was in the room.
Oh, no.
I was like, freaking out a little bit. And then they come in, and that night I sat up and I said that I am done. This is it. I am good. I know I am. I can feel like the energy. And once again, that'll come into play when I mention about that later on in the podcast. I had this sense of energy, clarity, just peace again, knowing that this surgery is done and I am done with this whole process and journey. Then come to find out when they did the biopsy on the remaining tumor, it was benign. It wasn't cancerous anymore. And the doctors could not explain that at all, why this happened. Obviously God, the water, family support, the environment, the nutrition has all huge factor into that. And my age as well, was 19 at the time. And so I promised myself, if I get through this, I want to help as many people as possible. So God let me stay on this earth for a purpose. And that is to, share his word and share that he's there for you, and also, to help many people through their health journey. So I've been doing that for about 12 years now here in the States. And that's my story.
It is incredible. I know you had something, Lindy. I saw it.
Fighting back tears, right?
I can tell you, Aniko, when I heard your story with Dr. Lyons the first time on Bradley's podcast, I was in awe. I truly was in awe because you just don't hear of things like that anymore, right? You pretty much were told, there's not really anything we can do. There's no hope. And so when I got home, my better half, Jamie, he said, you've got to come listen to this podcast. You just have to listen. It might help your dad. And of course, as I shared with you, I really truly believe that he would have had a different outcome, even if it had meant we had him here a little longer, where he could have had his oxygen to his cells where it needed to be. I think it would have been a different outcome. But I can tell you that we, as you know, drank the water, and I wish I lived close to you because I would be in these baths. But we don't have those in Virginia right now. But I've had a lot of my family try this water, and everybody is just, it tastes so good. I feel so different. Like you were saying, mentally, I can't really explain it. There's just something that's different with your energy levels, your clarity. And I get the pee thing because boy, did I find that out quick. It was like, cut it at 6 o'clock, have that last glass, or it's going to be getting those toxins out. So it has done wonders for us, even without serious illness. It's just in everyday life, how you feel, how your energy levels are. And I feel like it just is the whole package.
Absolutely. You are correct on that.
So, just kind of going back, what is the tie with you with Hungary? Is that where your dad was originally from? Or are you from here?
So both of my parents are Hungarian and I'm firstborn generation here in the States. But I've lived in Hungary for 5 years, so I can read, write, and speak it fluently.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah.
So my family last name was actually Chunko. Actually, that's my maiden name. We're actually of Hungarian descent. So that's why I was kind of interested. Yeah.
That is very cool. Yeah, there's a lot of Hungarians here, especially in the Vegas community. I hear them all the
Really?
time speaking, so it's kind of nice to just eavesdrop and see what they're
Yeah.
saying. And my husband's like, "So what are they saying?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're trying to find this in the grocery store and that, or wherever the case may be."
Oh.
So yeah, it's a beautiful country. When I was there, obviously for me, it's easy to adapt because I knew the culture, I knew the people. The food is excellent. If you guys ever want to go to Hungary, 5-star. Their food is so clean. It's amazing. The people there are just, very genuine, real people, and the history that's over 1,000 years old. So there's castles
Wow.
and churches and monuments everywhere, museums. So if I recommend going anywhere, would be is the zoo in Budapest. It is a beautiful setup with animals, and it just, oh my gosh, it's like the history behind it is just amazing, especially going through like, the wars and stuff, and having survived all those wars is pretty incredible where they still have the original like buildings from like the early 1900s or even like the 1800s. So it's very, very fascinating to see. So I recommend it.
And your dad is there in Hungary now, correct?
Yes, he is. Yes, he travels around the world. He teaches doctors and students on hypoxia. So that's his current role right now.
Awesome.
Oh,
Story's so interesting.
It's a lot to take. I get it.
I will tell you, when I watched you and your dad on Brad's podcast, I had never ever heard of hypoxia. I didn't realize that was a thing, yet it's such a vital point of our health. Can you explain to our listeners what hypoxia is and how it affects us?
So hypoxia is a lack of oxygen in the cells. So when you become hypoxic, that's basically the baseline of all diseases. When you're suffocating your cell, then you are more prone to developing a disease. That could be from, let's say, Lyme disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, even depression or anxiety. As we get older, our oxygen in our tissues start to deplete, and that's what we get the wrinkles and the achiness, and we think slowly, we can't sleep better at night. So the mental clarity is in there. And that's where, where hypoxia will come from. And it's actually being talked about more and more now what hypoxia is. And it's actually a disease. And I can say that we can treat hypoxia. That is allowed to say. And anytime a cancer patient that comes in through, Kaqun talks to me, I always tell them, like, you're not a cancer patient, you're a hypoxic patient. And then that kind of flips the switch and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have cancer, I have hypoxia. And then I'm like, the Kaqun baths can help with that and support that.
I read an article because, as you know, I dove into this hard a few years ago, and I read something that said oxygen and cancer cannot occupy the same cell. And Cocoon oxygenates our cells. It gives us the oxygen that we need to have in our cells. Can you explain a little bit to our listeners how that works, how that happens with the water and or the baths?
So the water is just a delivery system that brings oxygen to the cell. So with our technology, we create the cocoon or the oxygen water within itself. And it's kind of getting messed around with the hydrogen out of the water, and we're able to stabilize the oxygen molecules. And when you're in the water, it feels actually heavier than regular water does. So with that pressure, it forces oxygen into the tissue. Very similar to the hyperbaric chamber effect too. When you're in the chamber, forces oxygen, but this is a lot more potent. It actually goes in deeper into the cells. As for the hyperbaric chamber, it's great when you're in there, and we actually have one here too at our facility, but it doesn't last long. Like as with the baths, we have that 2 hours of oxygen in the tissue and it slowly depletes. As with the hyperbaric chamber, it's up, but then it quickly drops. And that's what we're missing. So when you're taking the baths, 2 or 3 a day, your body's having a full day of oxygen, which we don't normally experience if you're walking out, outside or in your home, our air, our oxygen levels are really low as is outside. So that's where we can come in, provide you that tool, and then let your body do the healing from within.
So when you were going through your treatment and you were drinking the water and you were clean eating, what's the difference between the Americanized version of clean eating and the diet you were following when you were recovering?
So the Mediterranean diet is a very simple, easy process. Anybody can follow that. So that's what I did when I was in Hungary. Eating clean is very, very important when it comes to healing process, even for the prevention aspect too. So don't do it when it's too late. That's what I'm trying to say. Like change, it takes about 14 to 21 days to change your eating habits, and your body's going to let you know what it likes and what it doesn't like. When you crave certain things, it tells you, hey, hey, I need more of that. And I did protein. I'm a huge advocate for that. Obviously somebody who is a vegetarian or vegan, that's fine. But I always encourage them to intake their protein because we are made out of protein. And that's so important when you're healing, when you're taking the baths, even if you're going through the traditional medicine is to uptake your protein and just eating clean. It has a huge effect on the body when it comes to your sugar levels, balancing your sugar levels. That can also create hypoxia within the body if you're fluctuating constantly and your body is trying to normalize. I learned that the hard way about 3 months ago. I was getting, because of my pancreas, I only had like 70% of it. So my sugar levels were starting to spike and stay consistently high. So my doctor's like, you're getting to the pre-diabetic phase. And I kind of figured that I'm getting older and also my pancreas is not working, but I also I was cheating here and there. I wasn't eating clean. I wasn't exercising enough. So that's when I started to do like my own, like there's these, it's called the lingo, and you can put it in your arm and it can measure your blood sugar levels. And then I can track, okay, what is good. And sometimes what I think is healthy, my body did not like. It would spike up like watermelon, the melons, apples, bananas. Those are actually really high in sugar, even carrots too as well. So we have to make sure that we are consuming at small portions at a time. And then me with protein is my best friend. Protein and cauliflower rice. I can't do regular rice. I can't do bread, pasta, all the good stuff, right? So I have to, uptake my veggie intake and my protein intake. And then now finally, after 2-3 months, it balanced out now where I am not in that stage anymore. So I think nutrition is a huge, huge advocate to healing. Absolutely.
You're just a walking miracle. I mean, God has
Yeah.
definitely blessed you and your family. On the personal side of this, I know how wonderful Cocoon is, and I know how close your family is, what they mean to you. What is it like for your father, Dr. Robert Lyons, to also be the visionary behind Cocoon, but he's also dad for you? So that has got to be a very special connection.
It is. We have a very unique connection. We have our business hat on and then we take off our personal, and then we take off the hat and we're personal. When he found out, actually, I didn't tell him that I had cancer. My husband told him because there was no way was I going to explain this one and hear him cry over the phone. When he found out, he immediately jumped on a plane and he like, okay, I'm going to come and take care of you. When I find out, my husband took the call and my dad cried. He's flying up, flying to the States right away. He came here and he actually got more sick than me. He lost like 30, 40 pounds. He was so weak. I had no idea this was happening because he didn't want to, show that he was weak in front of me. But yeah, he lost like 30, 40 pounds. I'm like, okay, that's odd, but he never showed weakness, even though he lost all that weight when I was there with him. He kept going, he kept fighting, never stopped, like making sure I woke up on time, making sure I'm doing the baths. Like that whole year was just his focus was on me. And there's a little story on that too. When I had my first surgery and I was done with that, and we'll keep it short, my dad wasn't saved at the time. And my pastor was there with us during surgery. And my pastor kept following him, hey, like, you're going to be okay. He's like, go away. I'm mad at God. Like, why is he doing this? And, after the fourth time, my pastor's like, okay, like, you need to get saved. This is the time. And I was in surgery when this was happening. My dad bowed down his head, accepted Jesus into his heart. And he comes to me after the surgery in the recovery room and he's like, hey, bawling his eyes out. I'm like, okay, that's weird. Okay, what's going on? And he's like, I accepted Jesus into my heart. God saved me. He's going to save you. And I told him that I would do this over and over again for you to be close to God.
Oh my.
He's just like,
Wow.
step back and he's like, you would do this again? I'm like, absolutely. Like, this is one of the reasons why I had to go through this is in order for you to be saved. And he's just like, like, oh my gosh, like the process, that and stuff. And then I went back to sleep because I was just, had the medication, but then the conversation after I got out and he's just like was in awe. So he's like, you would do that? And I'm like, absolutely. I love you. I would do that for anybody. And that's what, God did for us. He died for us through the cross. And I would do it again. So that's my connection with my father.
That's so cool. So how did your faith journey start?
My faith started at a very young age. My mom took me to church all the time. Back in 2002, I got saved. So I was like 13, 14 years old. It was at a camp, summer camp, and we were going through some family problems. And I felt like at that time that the only person to really go to is God. And I accepted him as my savior. And I've never stopped since then. And, I'm truly thankful that my family and I have that strong connection with God, my kids too, as well, my husband. So having God as the center of our home is really important. And it's very much known when it comes to that, especially in the family home now, I'm responsible for my kids. And so that's really important.
It's such a big part, faith, of both of
Yeah.
our lives too. And I honestly don't know how anyone that hasn't been saved that doesn't accept him, especially in the world today. I don't know how they make it because it's so hard. But we know we have that faith and we have that assurance that he's with us all the time and that he's always looking out for us and he has our best interest at heart. So that's how I try to approach every day. That's the one thing that when my dad did pass, really, I found my only peace from knowing that he wasn't suffering anymore and I knew where he went. So that's been huge for us. So I respect so much that that's how you are with your family. I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And wow, what a testimony for you and your dad, for him in your illness to find his salvation. You know, how, again, God turned this horrific situation around, healed you, and your dad was saved in the process. So that's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, because he calls it like the God complex. When you're a doctor and you're helping a lot of people and you're seeing amazing results happening during these treatments and therapies, you get that ego that starts to build up. And he's like, oh, I can cure anybody or treat anybody. And when it was my turn to go through that, that's when he realized, oh no, it's my daughter. This is a serious test for me. And I was worried that he was going to be more angry and not acceptive. And so, yeah, I'm truly blessed and I'm glad that we had that special bond and it's been close ever since. So it's been amazing.
That's great. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do on the day to day and how you're using, because you said you're a naturopath, like how you infuse that when you're helping patients and in yourself, and what do you do for self care? Because that's equally as important as being a business owner, a mom, all of it. So,
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you do for yourself?
Let's focus on the patients first. So, when I am speaking to them, obviously I hear their whole diagnosis, what they're going through, and then we will create a plan of action for them on, okay, this is how many baths you need to do, 14 days, 2 to 3 baths a day. It depends on their condition, how they are. Might even start them just one bath per day for a few days and build them up to it. I don't necessarily like putting them in the bath right away and doing hardcore because their body can get overstimulated and it can be a lot on them.
Hmm.
So we gradually start, adding more and more baths throughout the week. And just depends if they're doing chemotherapy, radiation. That one's really, really fascinating to me because when they're doing both the chemo and they're doing, the cocoon baths as a supportive therapy, there's very low side effects of being fatigued, appetite, loss of hair. They look like they're not even going through anything sometimes. Sometimes they're in better shape than me when they're doing the baths in conjunction with the chemotherapy. So that's where I come in and help them and just use that practice. Obviously, I still go to Dr. Lyons for the mentorship to see, okay, I have this person. Have you seen this case? What is recommended? And then, we'll definitely come up with a plan for them. And I just love talking. A lot of people start to open up to me about their trauma or their past and how this could be a reason why they're in this state right now. So I try to get the family involved, get them in here, talk to them, see how the support system is, because that's also very important too
Yeah.
when you're going through this journey, is to have the love and the care. And you'd be surprised how many people are actually on their own when they become sick and the family doesn't know how to deal with a loved one dealing with cancer or with a chronic disease. And they kind of start pushing themselves away. And the patients left on their own, they're like, I'm lost. And I'm like, okay, let's bring in your family, Zoom call in person. And then they start to understand, okay, this person needs support and help. And that's part of the healing process. Switch to me now. I try to do baths a few times a week. It's tricky sometimes with being busy here at the center. On top of that, with my children, family life, they got sports, they got activities. They're getting older, so they're more involved now in school projects and after club events. And I just always try to make sure that I take care of me. I try to pick a month where once a month I go and let's say my nails done or I get my hair done, or I go to a spa and I get a massage, and I turn off my phone, do not disturb, and don't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
It's very important to have that self care, because if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of others. And what kind of example is that if I'm constantly sick and ill and I look exhausted all the time? When a patient comes in, they see me like that, they're like, is this really working? Like, is this really
Yeah.
doing its job? And so I want to bestow that confidence that, hey, if you're doing the best, you're going to feel energized, you're going to feel better, rejuvenation. And some clients are here when they're doing the baths. They might not do it because they're doing anything, just for prevention. And they're like, oh my gosh, even that 1 hour of just escaping from the world and craziness that are involved, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better now. And so, yeah, self care is very, very important. Please continue doing that every day, no matter what, even for an hour or two each day.
Yeah, I think that's very important, especially for you, given where you were to where you are now, you value that time and it is very hard. I think women in general, we want to do and help everybody and we burn ourselves out quickly. And it's very hard sometimes and for people to feel like, well, you were just fine yesterday. What's happening? Well, no, my body was telling me and I was ignoring it. So now I need to stop and slow down and take the rest or do something like you said, your nails, hair, massage, anything like that. It's crucial.
I agree. Yeah, because your body will tell you. I've
Yeah.
experienced that a few years ago with my mom. My mom had a stroke, and I was her caregiver for about 2 years with my brother. And I ended up in the hospital afterwards because I was so burnt out. I was so sick. My blood pressure was measuring at 187 over 118. And I'm like, I'm going to stroke out here very soon if I don't change. And I mean, I wasn't eating good. I wasn't sleeping. I put all my effort and energy in taking care of my mom and making sure she had a quality of life. But at the same time, I'm burning myself up. So I had to really change a lot of things in how I take care of my mom and say something to my family and not, bring it all on me, because I thought I was like unstoppable. My mom has that same mentality even to this day,
Yeah.
even though she's still alive, but she is not able to do things that she used to. So she's in that same mentality. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Keep pushing it off. Keep pushing it off. And then your body will just completely shut down and tell you, okay, you're done for a little while. And it took me about another year and a half to get back to normalcy. Again, I dealt with depression, anxiety, high blood pressure. I gained a lot of weight and just didn't take care of myself. And I'm like, oh, if I keep doing this, something's going to come back. And I don't want my cancer to come back. So I changed that very quickly. And thank God I'm still here and still advocating for health and moving forward.
Did your mom drink the water as well when
She
she was
did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When she was able to, she was in rehab for about a year. So, but she drank the water. She did the baths. Now she's up in Great Falls, Montana, and she absolutely loves being there. That's her speed. It's very slow town, small town. My sister's there and she's overseeing her, and she lives in a home, and she's actually happier that way, which
good?
is very surprising because my mom was very vocal about not being in a home. And I'm like, you need to, like, you're going to thrive in that environment. And she actually prefers being there now than anything. And yeah, she drank the water. She did the baths. Her speech is almost there, but her mobility is pretty much plateaued at this point, where she can walk a little bit, but she won't be able to do like the full-time walk anymore. So, and it's all good. I told him, like, you're
Yeah.
going to early retirement, enjoy it as
Yeah.
much as you can. So she's like, yeah, you're right. Cause my mom used to be a paralegal for a law firm, and she
Wow.
was amazing at what she did. And the burnout, the stress is what got to her. And unfortunately, she had a stroke because of that. So it sent her into early retirement.
They can come out of nowhere. And my fiance, when he was 45, just out of the blue, he got out of the shower and he walked on. He said, "Do my eyes look funny?" And I'm just like, "No, they look fine." And my daughter said, "Yeah, they do look kind of big." And he said, "I need to sit down. I feel like I'm drunk, but I don't drink." And he went to pick his arm up and his arm just dropped. He said, "No, I need to go to the hospital. Something's very wrong." And sure enough, at 45, he had 2 ischemic strokes, and he, thank God, was able to get his mobility back, and this was before Cocoon too, so now that's even a more important thing for him now. He was drinking energy drinks, which at that time they sold at the gym, so you assume, the gyms to get healthy, if the gym has it, it must be great, and the cardiologist told him, "No, no, no, they're horrible because they spike them with so much caffeine And he said, but then the products that are in there also have caffeine. His blood pressure was 180 over 110. And you're right. That's what made me think about it when you said you were worried you would stroke out. His was lower than yours, and he sure did, two of them back to back. But he was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to fight this every step of the way. And I literally took him to the gym, and he was hanging over the treadmill, walking on the slowest speed. He didn't have all of his strength and his mobility back, but he's a huge believer in the cocoon and how it makes him feel, the energy that he gets from it. He gets brain fog, but he said, I can drink this water and it's like everything's clear. I have clarity. And so we're big believers, but you're right. These things come out of nowhere. And I think that knowing that hypoxia is literally at the root of every single one of these things is so important, because if we know that in advance, as you said, treat it before it happens. Take care of it early.
Absolutely. Huge, huge thing to be in the prevention. I had clients come out, oh, I feel fine. I'm doing good. And I'm like, get in the bath. Like, you have to be preventative.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that you're good. Like, everybody goes through something, the body screams, and I just don't want to be too late for that person. And sometimes they might not even get out of that. And so, yeah, very important to take care of yourself. I always let people know about that. And even my husband, occasionally, when he's doing something like drinking like Monster or Red Bull, or even like the clean version of the energy drink like Celsius, I'm like, dude, no, go into the bath and do it there, or go a hyperbaric chamber, or get an IV. Like, there's so many different ways to energy. Work out and exercise. That's another way you can boost your batteries. There's so many more simplistic and natural approaches to it than drinking junk. And it just makes me upset. I can go on the whole tangent on that whole thing because I can't stand it. And for them to have it at gyms back in the day, I'm just like, why? When movement boosts your immune system, boosts your energy, you're a gym. Why are you promoting that stuff? It's crazy. Well,
It
I'm
is.
glad that your fiance is doing good. Are you guys married now?
No, we were high school. We feel like it. We've been back together for 16 years, so we feel like we are.
Technically.
17 in high school, and then went different ways, and then reconnected and have been together ever since. So it's been fun, but we've learned you would never expect to go through something that traumatic at 45 years. Like you said, I'm just too young for this, but it does happen, and even younger. So I think that just awareness was one of my big goals. I just don't think that enough people know about this water, and I don't think that enough people advocate for themselves. We're just so quick to go do whatever the doctor tells us, or go medicate, medicate, medicate. And I believe there's a time you do need to do those things, but I think that our body also have this amazing ability to heal themselves. Like you said, the body knows what it needs, and it's going to let you know what it needs. We just have to give it to it.
Well, I also think it's not taught on how to learn your body. I have a couple of things. I have ADHD, I have fibromyalgia, and over the years, I've had to learn I'm starting to get pain somewhere. I need to stop. Or if the fibro really flares up, then I need to take a day off work. I need to sleep and just rest. Fortunately, my husband's really good about it. But there's so many things. I've gone to doctors too, and I'm like, I don't feel well. And they're like, well, your blood tests are all normal. You're fine. I'm like, no, I'm not. There is something going on. I know that I can feel, but your tests aren't letting me see that. You're backed by big pharma. And so you're only having the small section of tests, not letting me expand and say, oh, well, maybe it's actually this, or maybe your level was a little high. Maybe you're one of those really sensitive people that this does really impact. So I don't know. I think advocacy is really great. I think being able to learn how to do that, and especially as women, I think we're always the ones that put everybody else ahead of ourselves. So we need to learn to advocate better. So
Well said. I agree with that 100%.
now you said too that you have a sister and you have a brother. Is that all your siblings, or do you have more?
There's more.
Oh,
There's
wow.
3 girls and then 3 boys. So there's 6 of us. So yeah, I'm like the middle. I'm literally like the middle child. Like my 2 older sisters, me, and then 3 younger brothers. So, but we're all very, very close. I love them to death, and they were there through my journey too as well. And even though one of them was pretty young at the time and didn't understand how serious this was, they were always there for me. And I have family in Hungary. Like my siblings are in Hungary too, and my grandparents and my cousins, my uncles, aunts. So they are all there rooting for me during that time. And I still go back. I love going back there. And we always talk about the good old days when that was happening. And I'm like, that was not good old days. But yeah, we helped a lot of people
Yeah.
for sure.
That's incredible.
Absolutely. You have the baths, you have the water, which you can get at the spa as well, or order if you're not local to Las Vegas from the spa. But you have some other products I've seen as well. Could you just share a little bit about that and how listeners can get in touch to order and get the water and these other products from you?
Yeah, so we have it in drinking form, the Kaqun Water. It's a very popular one because you can take that with you anywhere you go. And that's more of like an energizer to me. When I'm drinking, a lot of people also experience like, what you mentioned, Jennifer, and your partner that, you have this like mental clarity. You feel like you're ready to go and conquer the world kind of mentality. And what that's doing is you're drinking it and immediately starts to saturate everything in your body. I mean, within seconds, it's very, very quick response. You drink it, goes down, it covers your heart, it goes down your stomach, your liver, your kidneys, your bladder. And what's doing it, that process is collecting all the toxins from all over your body. And that's why the more toxic you are, the more you're going to pee. That's what you probably experience. But just in the beginning, it's not, too much. And then the more you drink it, the more you can handle it. Like now, if I haven't drank a bottle in a week, sometimes that can happen. I try to drink every day. I pee a lot more because I'm like, okay, there's toxins. It's flushing it out of me. So we have the Kaqun drinking water here. We have the gels. The Kaqun gel, the hydration one, has been around since I can remember. That one is great for therapeutic healing. So for sore hands, arms, burns, cuts, bruising. If you have blemishes on the skin for acne, it's great for that. I suffered from acne as a kid, as you can see my face. That's why I got pancreatic cancers because of birth control. And I
Oh,
had always acne as a young teenager, as a young adult. So doing the gel's always been part of my regimen. I would never ever stop that again. My face has been clear now for years. So thanks to taking DIM, highly recommend taking that. That's great for our hormones, to regulate our hormones, which can help with our complexion on the skin. So you can get that off of online and take like 200 to 400 milligrams per day. And then we have the supplements, which we don't have that in stock right now. But when we do, we have the immunity, which helps boost the immune system. We have the Inside Out, which is pre and probiotics to help with the gut detox, which is great for liver. So you would take that at nighttime because that's when your liver starts to rejuvenate, is at night. And then we have the Vitality. Vitality is one of my favorite ones. It's for brain and nerve function. So when you feel overwhelmed, stimulated, I would drink one of those and it brings me back to like balance. So it's immediate effect when you're taking those supplements. It's very powerful. Those are always sold out.
I was going to say, a lot of times when I'll be on the website, they are sold out. The water too, the doctor in Clearwater that also has the cocoon now.
Dr. Minkoff.
Yes. He also has his store on Amazon and the water is sold out. I ordered mine from Vegas. I had to wait for it because it's that popular, but it's wonderful because it means people are starting to hear about Cocoon and what it can do and how it can help us.
Absolutely. Yes. It's spreading. We're growing. We're expanding too. So Dr. Minkoff, he has 5 cocoon baths at his center. There is another center in Tampa. They have 3 baths. And then now we're in New York. We're in Nebraska. And then we're working on being in Kansas City, Missouri. California, we have the baths. And then we're working on a really cool project in Georgia, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So those are
That's
pretty
really
close to
cool.
you.
yeah,
They
they
are.
are. Yeah.
But you're in Vegas, so I feel like because you were so much a part of the journey with my dad, Aniko, and you probably never even realized it because I was just lost. I didn't know what to do, where to go, who to turn to, and I didn't really understand everything that I had seen about. And you've just always been so gracious. She's wonderful, guys, about responding to your messages. So I cannot recommend Cocoon and these products enough. You will not be sorry. Lindy, did you have something? I know there's a million things.
There is, but I think it's great. I appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and just highlighting something that I never really thought about everything on the cellular level. And I think for me, that's crucial. Now I have some new knowledge and new understanding, and I can't wait to get my hands on a bottle of the water or a case
Yep.
of it or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, ladies, for having me on here. I am, honored to be here and share my story and see who can we reach and help. And I'm always here. So happy to be here.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Is there anything you would like to say to the listeners about Kaqun or how to locate you online if they have questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go on the website on cocoonlv.com, there's a request that you can do book a consultation. I do Zoom calls or in person. So if you're not close to the Vegas area and you're like, how am I going to get a hold of her? Well, you can have that option. You can also send me an email too and just see, hey, this is what I'm going through. The front office can also answer questions. They're very knowledgeable young ladies. They're awesome at what they do. To be honest with you, without them, I think I could not be here. They're also a great staff, very caring. So if you have any other questions, you can ask them. But I do recommend doing a consultation with me. And yeah, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Um,
so much for taking time to be here with us today. We really, really appreciate it. We will definitely be in touch. I think I have some fans of Kaqun now. Hopefully, all of our listeners will start to reach out too because it really can change your life. We all need to get rid of hypoxia, every single one of us. So it will
Absolutely.
benefit no matter what.
I
Well,
agree.
Aniko, thank you again for being here. We appreciate you. We know you're super busy and we can't thank you enough.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And guys, thank you so much for tuning into Crowning Connections today. Please reach out to Aniko. If you need more information, you can reach out to Lindy and I too. We'll get you in touch with them. But thank you for tuning into Crowning Connections. And until next time, be blessed.